Welcome to
Tamarindo Podcast.
Hosted by me, Brenda Gonzalez, a political nerd and nonprofit capacity builder.
And me, Ana Sheila Victorino, a queer well-being enthusiast and mindset coach. We are a Latinx empowerment podcast discussing politics, culture, and how to keep your calma with well-being practices and self-love.
Welcome to the show. Woo! On this episode of Tamarindo, we talk to two phenomenal singer-songwriters creating Latina power anthems that have us all celebrating who we are. You'll hear from Heidi Rojas, a first-generation Latina, millennial mama of two, hit songwriter turned bilingual empowerment pop artist. And Jarina de Marco, the talent behind the viral Dominican Spanish videos on TikTok and whose sounds are an exquisite embodiment of the multi-ethnic future. Delcy Sandoval, guest co-host this episode. We hope you enjoy the show. Hello, Tamarindo podcast listeners. I am very excited because today I have a very special guest co-host, Delcy Sandoval, and she will introduce herself in just a second. But I want to acknowledge that this is the first Tamarindo podcast episode that our listeners are hearing since the violence in the Middle East. And I cannot capture all the nuance that is necessary, but I do want to just hold space and let everyone, all of our listeners know that, of course, we want nothing but peace and we value all life, Palestinian, Israeli, or otherwise. And we acknowledge that it is it's not the right word to characterize this violence as unprovoked. We know that violence begets violence, and oppression, when you're oppressed to the point of no return, this is how the outcomes that are possible. And we hope that there is a peaceful resolution. Again, we are not the experts to be able to give you all of the nuance here, but I want to at least acknowledge that we're thinking about that. And with that aside, taking a moment to pause and recognize that. Now, Delcy, I'm sorry to have you follow that up, but Delcy, please introduce yourself to our Tamarindo listeners. And some of you might know Delcy because she's been on this podcast and we've talked about her before. But Delcy, please, in your own words, what do you do and why do you do it?
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me on, Brenda, and thank you so much for holding space for everybody out there that's impacted directly or indirectly. Please know that our thoughts are with you. So my name is Delcy Sandoval, and I'm a licensed therapist. I'm an artist. I'm a community leader, and I am proud to say that I'm the producer and host of the podcast Ocupación, which is a podcast that focuses on celebrating culture and creativity. I come from the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, so if you are familiar with that area, then you know a little bit about who I might be or how I grew up. And I think throughout my journey, I've really focused on kind of the fusion of art and mental health and celebrating our community.
Yes, and that comes through in the episodes of Ocupación, y'all. If you like calma, you're going to get some calma anytime you listen to Ocupación. And I know you're no stranger to this aspect of what you do at Ocupación is that you always open up with your wonderful reflections. So this is an opportunity for me to invite you to do the same, what we like to call on Tamarindo your ¿Qué pasa? So your chance to tell us anything that's on your mind.
Yeah, I love this part of the show, and this is my favorite. I love listening to what you all are ruminating on. You know, what's really interesting for me this week is I've been reflecting a lot on this concept of rest. And I know that it's been something that's been talked about, but it's something new to me because I grew up in a household, I think maybe like a lot of people can relate to, where my parents worked a lot of jobs. And when they weren't working, they were kind of fixing the house. And when they weren't fixing the house, they were working on projects. And they were just these very active people. And it was also the case for my community. It was like almost in like a perpetual state of hustle. So I don't know that I saw people resting really. And there's also this part of me that gets very easily inspired, very easily creative. I have kind of a lot of creative energy. And so I get interested in things very quickly and then I want to execute them. So I've found myself recently doing like 16-hour days, sometimes 17-hour days, just nonstop doing things, thinking about things, creating things. And it led me to think that I haven't fully explored the creative possibilities that can come from rest, kind of like the untapped creative potential that might lie within moments of stillness, right? So I've been working on that and trying to understand what rest really means for my mind and my body and my spirit, and who am I when I'm resting, and do I even allow myself to do that, which I think is a larger conversation within the community of holding space for rest. I imagine, Brenda, that you know what I mean, because I see you doing
Yes.
haciendo y deshaciendo.
Yes, yes, yes. I am activator is my like number one strength. So I really felt that when you said that like I'm always like doing and starting things and going and going and going. I feel that, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners feel that. And as you're speaking here, it's reminding me to tell folks that our very last episode, if you all heard it on this feed, was actually Ana Sheila being a guest on another podcast called Spill the Sopa, and it was all about this. This is, it's timely. It's something that we are all thinking about. So I love that you've spent some time here to share with all of us that it's also something you're struggling with. And listeners, all of you, raise your hand in the visible space wherever you are. If this is you. And it's so interesting that you mentioned that, because I think that's a little bit part of the spirit behind what we're teaming up to do. Listeners, you've probably heard Delcy's name, and you've probably heard me speaking about Encuentro, which is a creative retreat. Part of that is building that space. We're going to force you to rest if you're coming to Encuentro, as well as a lot of other active things. But we're very mindful and intentional of building that rest. So I would love for you to tell us a little bit about Encuentro, the vision behind it. Any thoughts about this amazing collaboration that we've dreamed up together that you'd like to share today?
I think that, there's so much going on here with this retreat. It really is a transformative retreat. It's set in the heart of Puebla, Mexico, which is where Brenda, your family's from. And I can't wait to see. And we carefully curated this itinerary that kind of balances workshops and active learning and things like that, but also this really big, like wellness, leisurely component, which is what we're talking about with yoga and meditation and resting. And then also travel. So we're seeing all of the different sites in Puebla. And, I know, Brenda, that you're really passionate about some of the places we're going to see. But I think one of the big pieces here is that the folks that are going to this retreat are all people who are interested in creativity, who are interested in building community with like-minded people who are thinking about creating or starting something new. And so this will be one of these things where we'll learn together, play together, travel together, and build community. And it includes us because we're including ourselves as part of that community. So this is happening February of next year, which is very exciting. And I think we can talk a little bit in further detail about how people can join us.
Yeah. So I'll give you the nuts and bolts. It is February 15th through the 19th. I'm so excited because we just communicated with the group of travelers that are joining us. So far, there's 9 travelers. Our goal is to get at least 10, but we can also expand if there's a lot of interest. But we connect with our travelers. They're already looking at flights. Delcy and I have booked our flights. The flights right now are, happened to be a sale. So I nabbed those tickets right away, because that could be very challenging, because flights are up and down. Gas prices are up and down. So we know that getting the flight is already a big commitment, but we've negotiated a really, I think, attainable price for what the value that you are getting. So you're getting 4 nights at an amazing hotel. You're getting at least 3 very, very thoughtful workshops that are going to be relevant to the audience, because we're working with our participants to shape those workshops. You're going to get to see 3 different destinations, and you're going to be with travelers or I guess hosts. That would be me and the members of my family that are part of our staff that know the area, and you'll feel safe, you'll feel supported. And then of course, Delcy and the wealth of information that she is going to bring to the programming. It's going to be so amazing. So let me give you a couple more little factoids here. We are able to honor the $1,600 rate if you apply by October 31st. Applying is free. It takes two to 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes if you could be a little more thoughtful with your answers, but really very little information that we're collecting. We just want to make sure that you're aligned. We want to get a sense of your goals and what you want to accomplish with your time with us. And so complete our free application by October 31st, and we will honor that rate. But if you miss that deadline, then we also have to be thoughtful about our expenses, because when we add more travelers, it's going to actually increase our expenses because we need to get another shuttle, other things. So the rate will go up. The rate will go up to $1,800 per person for folks that apply after October 31st and before November 30th. And if you want to join us, if you're one of those stragglers at the very, very end, if you want to apply after November 30th, the rate will go up to $2,000. So again, if you want to save and enjoy the early bird introduction rate of $1,600, please complete our application. You can find it at tamarindopodcast.com/encuentro. Cool. Yes. So excited. Can't wait to see y'all. All right. So let me pivot to who we have today. So today we have two musical guests. We are going to start with Heidi Rojas, a first-generation Latina, millennial, mama of two, hit songwriter turned bilingual empowerment pop artist. Her dream is to empower women, Latinas, and madres to pursue their passions and to unite and support each other. So exciting.
Yeah. Let me talk a little bit about Heidi, because I actually just recently watched Heidi Rojas perform in person. I went to this workshop actually put on by Tamarindo in partnership with Traveler Charlie, and they put on this incredible financial empowerment, fun, kind of perreando your way to financial liberation event. And Heidi was there. And you know, it was really interesting when I was watching her, what I was thinking was like, the songwriting capacity here is so strong. I mean, her ability to put together what would be like a fun, like hit, like exciting song with these really thoughtful lyrics that you can tell come from a super vulnerable place and are really relatable and authentic to the community. It was amazing. I was really blown away. And she performed two different songs, and both of them were completely different stylistically, but had that same kind of empowerment vibe. So if you haven't heard, out there and listen to Heidi.
Yes, and here's your chance to listen to her now. Hello, Heidi Rojas. It is such a pleasure to have you here on Tamarindo. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And for our listeners, some of you might know that we had Heidi perform at our event recently, and it was just so wonderful, such a treat. And we know many of you are listening from all over the place, not just LA. So here's your opportunity to meet Heidi for you all listeners out there. My first question for you is, if you were to describe what era you are in, what era are you in? Are you in your señora era, your mom era, your empowerment era? What is it?
Ooh, I love that question. I think I would say I'm in my empowerment era for sure. I'm all about, I was in my mom era for the last 5 years, really dedicated to my babies. And now I'm like all about finding who I was before and who I am now, like the 2.0 version of myself. So I would say empowerment era, 100%.
Yes, and we can feel that with your music. In fact, I know that you describe yourself as your music as bilingual empowerment. So what do you mean by that? And how does that show up in your music?
Yeah, it's honestly the songs that I want to hear are the songs that I'm writing, like that just make me feel beautiful and strong. And like, I'm not crazy for dreaming big, like just, songs that are positive and uplifting. I mean, a lot of, música Latina, it's like amazing. Don't get me wrong. I love reggaeton. I love everything about the top 100, Latin songs. But I will say that a lot of them I don't connect with, like on as far as concept, like a lot of them are about, dancing in the club and cheating and relationships that are, and ultimately I'm 37. I'm happily married. I have 2 kids at home. Like, I go to sleep by 9:30. So I want to hear some songs that I relate to. And so as a millennial mama, I would say it's just like, it's empowerment to women, Latinas, madres, anybody who has a dream they want to pursue. That's why I love bilingual empowerment pop. I think that's a really great way to describe it. And it's just fun. Makes you
Yeah,
feel good about it.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I felt that the first time that I saw you perform, I felt like my little hairs go on end because I too am a millennial mommy, not mama. And so your songs are definitely infectious, and you have all of us singing, even though it's our first time hearing it, you have all of us here singing.
Mhm.
And
Thank you.
both at the first time that I saw you perform and also at our event, you started with this great song called La Situación, and it's pretty much going viral. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about La Situación. Tell us a little bit about the lyrics, which of course we're going to play for our listeners. And what does it mean to you to put that vulnerability out on paper and beat?
Yeah. So La Situación was the first song that I wrote in August of last year. I had been really working through what it had felt like and why I had such complex feelings about being a Latina in the spaces that I was in, mostly spaces where I was the only Latina in the room. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, so I was the brown girl. And then when I would go visit my family or was around other Latinos, I felt like the white girl because I was really trying so badly to fit in the suburbs life. And so it wasn't that I was like trying to be white. I was just trying to like get people to like me or at least leave me alone from like teasing me. So for just being different. So ultimately, I read some books that were incredibly helpful. This book by Prisa Dorcas Rodriguez, Mojica Rodriguez, for brown girls with sharp edges and tender hearts was like completely life-changing. It gave voice to so many things that I had been feeling, so many things that I read out loud to my gringo husband who can't relate. And then I watched Viva, and I just really immersed myself in literature that made me feel seen. And then from there, the song came through, and it was the first time I could put into my own words how I had felt, ni de aquí ni de allá, too Latina for the Americans, too American for the Latinos, and how I just desperately wanted that to change. I wanted that to be my superpower instead of this thing that made me feel separated. I wanted it to make me feel like I'm the best of both worlds. Like I have so much to offer if I'm just accepted for who I am, which is kind of this beautiful marriage between these different culturas. So it was very scary to put that song out. It was the first song that I put out on TikTok, and I was like, what do you think, everybody? And 99% of the comments were like, I've never felt more seen in my life. I feel this to my core. People who felt identified and represented so deeply for the first time through music. And I was just so honored by that. And so I'm so moved by all the messages because I feel like my inner child, little Heidi, is healed, little by little by having experiences where someone says like, I see you, and I validate that experience.
Yes, absolutely. I love you've mentioned alumni of Tamarindo, both Prisca Mojica Rodriguez and creator of Vida have all passed through this podcast because it is really, we are your community, we are your people. So I can't wait for our listeners to tune in and follow you more of your music. I want to back up just a little bit. How did you get into music? I know you bring your mom to some of your performances, so I've heard from her that you've been doing this since a small child. So how did you get into music writing, and tell us just a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, so I started writing songs when I was 8. I used to go on planes and write on the barf bags, like lyrics. I used to write lyrics in school, in class. I graduated early from high school and started touring around with like an EP of like gospel songs that I had written because I had started singing in church. And so I just, I wanted to, I was just an artist when, from the very beginning. And then I went to Baylor in Texas. I got a degree in business for marketing for music and entertainment. Worked at a record label in Nashville out of there. And then I moved to LA 14 years ago to be the Latina Lauryn Hill, and ended up writing for other artists instead, and had amazing time writing for other artists. But yeah, I mean, my mom I graduated early from high school, so I spent my senior year essentially literally calling different venues and places and offering to perform for them. And we would just every weekend we would have like a show or two, and she was my merch girl, my tour manager, my security, my just driver, my everything. And it's incredible because she lives next door. Like it's crazy how we're like doing it all again, but now like decades, like literally like 20 years later. It's just there's some things you just can't shake. And gosh, I'm so much better at it now with all of that everything that I've learned. And she's just as supportive as she was 20 years ago. So it's pretty amazing to have that support from my family. But yeah, it's all I ever wanted to do was to share my music. But it wasn't until I got older and was processing life till I started having kids and really I've been in therapy for over 10 years, like that I actually found my voice and what I really want to say.
Yes, absolutely. And we can hear it. So I want to now hear a little bit about Jefa, which of course is also very, very relatable, very empowering, more of this empowering bilingual pop that you referenced earlier. Talk to us about Jefa.
Yeah, so Jefa came from like, so many people are like, hey Jefa, and there's so many different, PepsiCo has this sponsorship program where they're Jefa owned businesses, and it's just this like it's a word that has taken a long time to come around to women, Latinas to be like, oh, she's a Jefa, like it's a. And so I just wanted to create a song that really encompassed our journey and how it's not just like, oh, we're not just becoming jefas, we are fueling the economy now because we are the fastest growing small businesses. There's so many statistics that that help people understand how impactful Latinas have been just recently, but it's not like we just got here. It's not like we just started running businesses. My grandma ran a business making children's clothes from the back of her house. Like we've been jefas for a long time. So I wanted an anthem for us to celebrate that. And so Jefa, I mean, my favorite line that also like battles the imposter syndrome that we feel on a daily basis, at least I do, do we deserve to be in these rooms? Like, are we even allowed to, like, supposed to be here? And it's just like, we might still feel imposter syndrome, but we're healing from a system that never thought we'd get this far, but here we are setting a new rhythm. And that's just like, we've got so much to celebrate together. I'm pulling up a table and we're gonna make room for all of us. That kind of unity is really refreshing for me because I feel like I was raised in an area where there was a scarcity mindset. So anytime that I would see another Latina or another person that looked like me in a room full of, other just, people that did not look like me, but that looked a lot like each other. It was like, there's no room for, I always felt like there was this competitive thing going on where, it wasn't like, hey, let's join together. It was more like, there's only room for one of us here and it's going to be me. And so to be able to, every time that I have an experience with Latinas that are uplifting me and are seeing me for who I am, I'm healing too, because I grew up in that scarcity mindset that, we can't pull up a table because there's only one seat. So I'm going to fight you for it. But the fact that we are jefas supporting jefas is just amazing. So I wrote us an anthem for it.
And anthem is a perfect word for that. Absolutely. Yes. Anthem is perfect for that. And then finally, and you've mentioned, you're a mother, and I know that, I mean, I am not a mother, but I know a lot of our listeners are mothers, and a lot of power comes from motherhood. So now finally, I'd love for you to talk to us a little bit about Madre Creator.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So Madre Creator, a dear friend of mine, she had a mama retreat at her house. So it was like 3 hours of pampering, which is like amazing for me. I mean, any time, sometimes I go to my car to get away from the screaming and crying sometimes. And so like being able to go for 3 hours to this retreat, I was so inspired by women who were talking about, things that they were going to, like hobbies they were picking up and and businesses that they were starting now that their kids are a little bit older, and just the pressure and the guilt that they put on themselves to perform at a level that is just so hard to sustain. So I went into the bathroom at her house, and her husband's a producer, so there's like plaques of like Tori Kelly and Ariana Grande and Maroon 5, like all these number ones everywhere. And so I was just like, okay, I'm gonna channel all of the mama energy and all of these like hit song energy. I was like, and so I just started kind of chanting the idea, and Madre Creator literally happened in that bathroom. And I walked out and I shared it with a couple of the women, and we just started like literally physically like tribal dancing. And I just thought, okay, I need to finish writing this. So really, Madre Creator is just it's an anthem to empower all women, because we, regardless of whether we choose to have children or not, we are the portals of life. We have been chosen to create, and we are also creators of podcasts and fashion lines and businesses, and and so we are, regardless, like women are just amazing. So I just wanted to celebrate that and create kind of a mantra, an affirmations anthem. And so that's what Mother Creator is. And the fact that it's just like crazy. Even the last few weeks, it's blowing up on Instagram and really connecting with a lot of women across the board who just needed something to kind of like bring that fire back inside of them, to that reminder, because we're told so often, like, don't be angry, don't be aroused, don't be this, don't be that, be obedient and quiet, know your place, and all of these, and I think in the reality is that we are, like, when we are just feet on the ground and really in tune with who we are, like, we're actually unstoppable and we are amazing. And I think men are threatened by that, and so they try to make sure that we don't access and tap into that. So I'm just like, no. Mm-mm. I had two human beings come out of me. I know I can do anything, and I'm gonna sing about it. And it's because I want everyone else, all other women, to feel that way. So that's where Madre Creator came from, and it's probably my favorite because it's like cutting to the chase, right? It's just all of the amazing things that I know that I am and that I know the women around me are. And we put so much pressure on ourselves, and, that we just need to like give ourselves a break and celebrate the just divine power that's inside of us.
Yes, absolutely. Amen to all of that. And lastly, I would love to, because I know obviously you're very good at these infectious hooks that have us all singing. What are maybe 2 or 3 songwriting tips that you could leave our listeners with?
Yeah. So honestly, the greatest songwriting tip that I think I can share is like, no great song is written when somebody's just kind of like coasting down the middle of life. Like, the best songwriters are honestly either like really doing like really, really bad, like drugs and bad relationships and like spiraling, or really, really working on themselves and in tune and healing and processing and chasing the best version of themselves. Like, anywhere in the middle is just going to create like mediocrity. And so the best advice that I can give is to obviously don't spiral. I would like, please
don't do that path.
Please, do not spiral. Go in the other direction and run toward healing. And hello, child. What's wrong? How can I help you? She did? That's okay.
And the TV's off.
Okay, how about 5 more minutes? Go play on your iPads and I'll be done. And then I'll turn it all back on. Love you. Thank you. Okay. Sorry. That's what happens when a nanny doesn't show. Okay, so our healing. I highly recommend run toward healing. If you have, if triggers come up in daily life, if you have things that you haven't worked through or dealt with, like, I'm such a proponent of therapy. I'm such a proponent of having tough conversations with family members or friends, of setting boundaries, of really pursuing the best version of yourself. And I think through that is how I found my voice and what I want to share with the world. And when I was kind of just coasting in the middle, like, yeah, like going through the motions of life, like I couldn't write. I wasn't writing anything that was worth like any interesting, And so that's the best advice that I can give, is that really pursuing the best version of yourself is going to bring on the most creative, the most like inspired and authentic stuff, song ideas. And I think aside from that, just like get out and live your life and observe, because your perspective on the same story that everyone else just watched is what makes you unique, and what, there's something fresh in that. I mean, you can, like, it's fun to listen to people retell stories, the same story, and it all just be so different, right? Yes. And so that's what, songwriting is that. It's just sharing your perspective of something, of an experience or of a topic. And so make sure that you're really digging in and making it as unique as possible, because generic lyrics that don't really speak of your soul are just not going to connect. So you may as well just take some risks and put yourself in there in each word. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. We really appreciate you spending time with us here on Tamarindo.
Of course. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Next up on Tamarindo is our interview with Jarina de Marco, whose sounds are an exquisite embodiment of the multi-ethnic future. Her multilingual repertoire has beckoned empowerment for nearly a decade through a vocal style that's as in your face as it is vulnerable and soft. Jarina joins Tamarindo to speak about her album, Caribbean All-Inclusive Luxury. Let's hear her now. Welcome, Jarina de Marco. It's so good to have you here on Tamarindo.
Thank you for having me.
It's so lovely. I have a question for you. I want to know, if you were to describe the era that you're in, how would you describe it?
The WTF era. Honestly, the reason why I say that is because obviously I'm a musician. I mean, the people who don't know me, I'm a musician. But for me, obviously, I've been in musician my whole life. And I've been putting out music independently for forever. I've signed to major labels, but it's never worked out. So everything that I've put out has been myself. And I put out an album recently called Caribbean All-Inclusive Luxury. And, as an indie artist, we don't have those marketing dollars behind you. We don't have that machine that can like put you on billboards and all these things. So I took it upon myself to figure out a guerrilla warfare way to get myself out there. And I started doing these videos because we're in the era of short form content. And, I've dragged my feet about it because I'm like, I just want to sing, like, leave me alone. Like, I don't want to like show you my face routine or whatever. So because of that, I decided to do something different. And you've got to draw from what you know, and it's my Dominican culture is something very dear to me, and that I weave into my music in many ways. And I decided to do this series called Dominican Spanish, Spanish by Dominicans, and it blew up completely on the internet. And it's arguably one of the most successful things I've ever done, which makes me want to cry, but also like it's exciting. But the cool thing about what happened is that it kind of tapped into this market and to this audience that I had never really connected with, which is my own people. Because my music was so left of center for what is listened to in DR, which is, what's happening right now, dembow, reggaeton, merengue, salsa, all the things that encompasses Dominican Republic. I was always, left of center pop, more kind of experimental, or, my lyrics are not necessarily about partying or booty or whatever, So I never felt like I could ever connect with my own people. And then through this whole hilarious like series that I have, this new audience came into my life, and all of a sudden they're discovering my music, and they're like, oh my God, I didn't know you existed. And so it feels like a homecoming for me. It's actually really sweet.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because my next question was going to be to share, because obviously I've been a follower of your music for a while. I think I think it was Curly Velasquez who shared your music on social, and since then I've been following, and we even had a chance to chat on Tamarindo Live in the past. But I've been a fan. But yes, I've also noticed how you've dabbled into video, especially documenting your pregnancy, and then now this new hit sensation of Dominican Spanish. So I did want the audience to know a little bit more about, and you kind of already gave us that glimpse about why you've dabbled into this sort of content creation, and what has it meant to you to express in this way too?
Well, I think social media is difficult to kind of understand. It's always changing, and Instagram was all pictures and things like that. And as an artist, I take a lot of care with crafting beautiful single covers and album covers and imagery. I'm sure you've seen my Instagram with that. Like, they're very composed and artful, and I work with photographers that do a lot of like imaginary worlds around me. So it's always very kind of whimsical or striking. So the shift from pictures onto vertical content like that is hard for musicians, because it's like asking us to be an editor, to be a personality, to kind of trick you into liking us so that you can listen to our music. So that's kind of how I felt about it at first. I was like, I just want to show people my music, and now my imagery isn't being shown to people because it's not reaching, because the algorithm changed. So it was kind of like evolve or die for me. And when I decided to like just dive into it, my husband said something to me which was really good. It's like, as long as you have fun with it, what does it matter? That's basically it. And I hired these two 22-year-olds to help me figure out how to do it, basically, because I'm not old, but I'm not of the generation that started off with TikTok. We started off with Instagram. So I'm a millennial. I'm sure you are as well, right?
Yes. Just barely. But yes, I'm an elder millennial.
I'm also an elder millennial, let's be real.
Yes.
But anyways, they basically taught me how to format, how to have a hook, how to like basically the language, because it's a language in the end. And then I just injected my own personality, which, my husband finds me to be funny. I think sometimes I can be funny. And I think what's most important about social media when it comes to what you're putting out there is that it feels genuine and authentic. And what is more genuine and authentic than your own culture? And I think Dominican Spanish specifically, for those who don't know what it is, it's basically I go on to talk about words like if you're feeling like you need a blanket and your favorite meal and a hug and a kiss and be told that you're beautiful and amazing, then you are ñoña or ñoño, which means that you want affection immediately, and it's kind of whiny and kind of bitchy, but like, give it to me. So that's a specific Dominican word. And so once you put it out there, what's interesting that happens is Dominicans are like, oh my God, that's totally right. Or Dominicans that have immigrated here in their second generation, my abuela used to say ñoña. So it's like this connection back to the land. And then for those who aren't from DR are fascinated because it's like a word they've never heard, and it's a whole other part of culture that they don't know. So everyone is kind of like engaged and or identified or curious about it. So anyways, it just ended up being something really sweet to connect with online with people.
Yes, fantastic. Well, we'll link to some of those in the show notes for this episode. But I want to talk about your new album, Caribbean All-Inclusive Luxury. Can you describe for our listeners the vision behind this awesome album?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I started writing it around the time that I started seeing my boyfriend, who then became my husband and the father of my baby. And up until then, my music had been mostly about self-empowerment and really high energy and upbeat and protest songs that were masked as dance songs about colorism. It was much more high energy and more brainy in a way. And then I met Alex, and I just felt like I had found the one for me. I know that I never believed in that until I met him. And at the time I was working with this producer from Finland named Jonas Carlson, who is fantastic. He works with like John Legend and all these amazing artists, and he has this beautiful way of producing that is super soft and like gentle. And I just, on our first session, we made this one song, Coca-Cola, which is on the album, and it was so sensual and beautiful and groovy. And the thing is that people don't know is that before all this hype stuff that I was doing, I was a jazz singer and bossa nova singer for many, many years. And so it was kind of like going back to my old voice, which was much softer, because my music before that is very chanty and rappy. So I decided I wanted to make a baby making album, and then I got pregnant, which is exactly what happened. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. So that's the ethos of it. But what really kind of molded what the album ended up being is I was thinking about the first time I ever felt like I was this deeply in love. And it was when I was a teenager. Like, you know how it is when we're teenagers, how we fall
so
hard.
Intense. So intense. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like you can't eat, you can't sleep, you want to talk on the phone until like 5 in the morning, you know? And when that happened, I was in Dominican Republic. And so to me, love equals being on an island in a way. It's like my earliest memory of that kind of love. And so what a great landscape, right? Like hot, beautiful beaches and palm trees. It's so sensual to be there. Like being in DR is living in some kind of exuberant sensuality. And so that's where I started thinking, you know, I want to make an album that feels like a sonic vacation while being in love. And that's what I ended up doing. And of course, in my, I can't not say something important. I just can't just write love songs. I have a couple of songs. One of them is Boca Chica, where I also scrutinize what it's like to be in an island that you can't leave, because most Dominicans have a hard time getting a visa to leave, and they want to for opportunity. And so all these tourists come from all over the world, and they bask in the beauty of our island and stay in these beautiful hotels and experience our island in a way that they will never experience. Like I know many Dominicans that haven't even gone to beaches. Like they're in the central of the country and they don't even go to the beach because it's expensive to go. So that's why I call the Caribbean all-inclusive luxury. It was kind of a dig at the hotel industry that is mostly owned by foreigners. It's not Dominican owned. It's the Spanish, the French, the German. So it's kind of a recolonization of our island. And there's also like weird things like color barrier issues. Like, you know, all these hotels are in front of beaches, and you can walk in front of it. Legally you can, but a lot of times they put like strings over it so you can't walk around that beach, and you know that's not legal. And also definitely a color barrier, because if I were to walk on that side, they would assume I'm a tourist because I'm light skinned. But if you're a black Dominican, which 80% of DR is, they school you out, like get out of here, and it's illegal to do that. So there's race involved in it, there's class involved in it, and in the end, I always think that it's important that when you're singing about something that is difficult like this, the best way to do it, and that's, for me, it's the Bob Marley method, which is sing about something hard while making people dance, because it's more digestible, and then when they actually listen, you're telling them something important, and then it hits different than when you're preaching at someone. Mm-hmm, so yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah. I feel that completely. Let's talk about a couple of the songs. I want our listeners to hear a little bit of Masa, and tell us about this song. Let me turn off my phone. Somebody's calling me and I need to turn this off. Anyways, okay, back. All right. Please tell us about Masa. This is one of the songs on the album. Tell us a little bit about this particular track.
Masa is about enjoying one's extra good on our body. When I met Alex, I know he only had like really skinny girlfriends before, and for some reason, I've never been insecure about my body, but for some reason that made me feel insecure. And then when we were together, we were intimate, and you know we had to spend time together. I realized how much he enjoyed me and how much he loved that about me, and I was like, oh my God, why was I thinking that would be an issue, or that would be something not great? Obviously there's a lot of things in society that makes us think that, you know. Mm-hmm. And so anyways, that song is a love song to my love handles, or to my extra masita on my hip, or whatever, you know, that I have. You know, after having a baby, your body changes too, and like it's just about that, about loving your masita, and also making it sensual. Like masa can be sensual as just as much as, you know, a six-pack, in my opinion.
Yes, no, I think that obviously it's very relatable because we live in a society where fat phobia is just everywhere. And if I'm sure if we ask a number of women what is the area of their body that they dislike, it's going to be their extra love handles. So to flip it around and write a love story to that masa is just so beautiful and empowering. So we love that track.
Oh, so
And then you
glad.
started talking a little bit about Coca-Cola, which is really cool and sensual as well. Talk to us
Yeah.
about this track.
There's a saying in Spanish. I don't know if you guys. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Mexico. Yeah, we're
Mexicana.
Mexican. Yeah.
Okay, so do you guys say "Yo soy la última Coca-Cola del desierto" or "Tú crees que tú eres la última Coca-Cola del desierto"? Do you guys say
It
that?
sounds, for some reason, it sounds like it rings familiar. Like the concept translates, whether I've heard it before or subconsciously, it does ring familiar to me. And I'm sure some folks are going to be like, yeah, I hear it all the time. But I cannot feel like complete confidence that it's something I can confirm. But somehow, somewhere in my DNA, it feels true.
Right. Well, it's something that you say when someone thinks they're hot shit. Ooh, can I say bad words?
Oh, you could say whatever. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
When someone thinks they're hot shit, you think like, "Tú crees que tú eres la última Coca-Cola del desierto?" It's kind of like saying you think you're better than everyone else. Like you think you're the last Coca-Cola in the desert, the most desirable thing on the planet. And so my answer to that was yeah. like it was like telling it to myself, like I am the last Coca-Cola in the desert. It's like a mantra of like making myself feel good and the song is essentially like a seduction song, but I like the idea of hyping yourself up. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with being like, I look good today, to yourself. And that's
we need
kind of
more
what
of
that
it.
is.
Yes, we
Yeah.
need more of it, and it feels like you have to. Even you right now had to add a qualifier because it's so foreign to do that, to be sentirse la última Coca-Cola en el desierto.
Yeah.
So yes, I love this invitation, Jarina, for all of us to love our masa, to love our man that makes us feel like we're basking in the sun on the beach, and to also feel empowered and love ourselves. So I think that's kind of what is coming through in these new tracks, and we're really excited. Now, is the whole album out already?
Yes, it is. Daiquiri came out recently, which was a part of the album, but we decided to put it out separately. Daiquiri isn't, sorry, I'm sorry. Daiquiri is actually in the album. It's an interlude. It's a minute long. And I got a lot of DMs from a lot of people that wanted an extended version of it. So as we speak, I'm finishing up an extended version with a special guest. I don't know if you know Lido Pimienta. Do you know?
Oh my
that
gosh,
artist?
I love. She is on the wish
She
list
was-
to get on this podcast. So yes.
Oh, she's amazing. She was at my house not long ago, and my kid loves her. She's so good with children. She has 3 of her own. Anyways, she is jumping on the track, and we're putting it out at some point
Oh
soon
my
this
gosh,
year.
you all are hearing it first here on Tamarindo. How exciting. Yes, it's so cool.
She's so talented. My God. Yeah, and then after that, I have another song coming out, but the album is fully out, and it's because it's Dominican Spanish blessing. It now is taking traction, and it's being put on playlists, and it's getting the opportunity I think it deserves to be listened to by a larger audience. So thank you for having me here and talking about it. Really, it makes me feel so happy.
Yes, we can't wait. And everybody, y'all will have a link to where all the information to get in contact with Jarina, to listen to all her music, follow her on social. It'll be a gift for your feed, especially when we need it right now so badly. So
I
thank you
know.
so much, Jarina. This was amazing. And I hope you have a
Thank you.
fantastic weekend.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we did it. We heard from fantastic performers, and now it's time to close out this episode with our rapid fire questions. I want to start with you, Delcy. What gets your matraca?
Ooh, okay. Matracas this week really go to those folks that are super open to sharing what they understand and what they know. I've recently joined this big group of folks in Los Angeles and New York who are creators and come from Latin American backgrounds. And we're on this chat, and I'm just amazed by the camaraderie, the community, everybody sharing what they know, all their secrets. If you ask a question, everybody's sharing all of the grant opportunities and funding options. And, there's not a lot of gatekeeping. It feels like we can all win if we work together. And so matracas to folks that are just open to building community and to sharing the wealth.
I love that. Matraca to that. Matraca to
Yeah.
you, Delcy, because I think you
Matraca.
embody that. You totally embody that. And my matraca is kind of goes to what the emotions that I felt today. So today on October 12th, first of all, super exciting because an episode that Ana Sheila and I had the opportunity to guest co-host of the Risk Storytelling Podcast, which is my number one favorite podcast in the world, aired today. And I was so excited because I love Risk. I love Risk. You all need to listen to Risk. So matraca to Risk always. But then my heart was broken because the first draft of this episode that went out into the world, it sounded like there was a bit of an issue with my audio. And I was very embarrassed and heartbroken and sad, super sad. But then, and here's my matraca. So my matraca goes to their audio producer, John La Sala, because he immediately corrected it. So thank God the episode of Tamarindo that's out in the universe sounds great. And as a podcaster, you're a podcaster, I really appreciate the extra effort that went into fixing that. So my matraca goes to John La Sala of the Risk podcast.
Yes, that's a big matraca. That has happened to me before. And it is, it's nerve-wracking.
Heartbreaking. Okay. So what gets your basura today?
I will say my basura really goes to this notion in our popular culture that somehow you need a formal arts education in order to participate in the arts, because we know that that's not true, and that it helps and it's great if you have that. But if you're somebody, like, everybody can participate in creativity, and everybody can, if you have an artist's heart and soul, you are an artist. And, we kind of have to stop making one another feel like there are all these endless steps that you have to go through in order to participate in having a voice in the world. And it's really not the case. Self-expression is for everybody.
Yep. I love it. Echo to all of that. Let's see. What would go in la basura to me? Okay, here's a silly one, but it's true. Okay, I had these amazing tacos last night, and they were so good. There was tacos, but there was like this amazing mushroom quesadilla and this other quesadilla. It was this pop-up. I think the food is called Mexicali. I'm gonna look it up because it was such delicious food. So like they get a matraca for being delicious, and I'll tell you what my basura is in just a second. And I do want to give them a shout out because it's called Metzli Taqueria. They were having a pop-up at Melody LA, this amazing wine bar. And we drove all the way there for these tacos, didn't even get wine. And then this morning, I was like, why does my stomach hurt? And then I remembered I can't have cheese. Like, I just can't. So basura goes to not being able to being lactose intolerant, basically. Basura to that.
Oh, what's really interesting? So am I.
It's so sad.
It's so sad. It's so hard. I tried these tacos too. I wish I had the right name, but people on the internet probably know, like, Angel's Tacos in San Fernando Valley. I recently tried those. They're like Tijuana style tacos.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. That's like taking it up a notch. Really, really good.
Delicious tacos, yum. Just got to watch it with the cheese. And that reminds me, just another little plug for Encuentro we didn't mention yet is that the food, oh my gosh, the food is going to be so incredible. So another little plug for you all to sign up for Encuentro because we want you to join us and have delicious food as well as all the other benefits that Delcy shared with us earlier. And now, how do you stay grounded? How are you getting your calma?
Okay, so I have been swimming a lot. And I talked about this a little bit at the financial liberation workshop that we went to, but I realized that I have a lot of screen time, and that one of the best ways to not have screen time is to force myself to not have screen time. So rather than working out in a traditional way where I would have like my, screen in front of me and I'm watching something, I've been swimming as a way to just be present. Just be present while I'm moving my body. And it has been really life-changing and has made me feel so much more grounded and calmer and happier overall. So consistency is key, and I've been making it happen. So I'm happy.
I love that. Everybody set a trap for yourself so that you are away from the screens. That is it like that is
it's literally
that's
a trap.
what you have to do. You have to literally trick yourself and make it impossible to look at your phone, because it's got everything. It's got your calendar, it's got phone numbers, it's got absolutely everything, where like and it's by design, right? It's to make you be attached to it and dependent on it. And so then we get caught up. So we need to do these things like set traps for ourselves where we literally cannot touch the phone. That is a fantastic calma. I think that's great. I will share that for me, what's been giving me so much calma, it always brings me so much joy, is whenever I'm teaching a workout class, but I'll give it a more specific, I am bringing in more personal training clients, and it has been so fun to work one-on-one with folks. And so I want to give a big calma and shout out and matraca to my couple of clients, and especially Alejandra, who's been renewing, and it's been so fun to see the progress and to work together. So I invite you all to get in touch with me if that's something that interests you, but also just to get moving, move your body, whether it's swimming. That's probably the other reason why I enjoy working out, is because you literally cannot be on your phone. If you're teaching the class, you really can't be on your phone. So that's been really a source of calma for me as well.
I love it. And I think it's so important the way that you put it, to move your body, because ultimately, like, that's really what we're doing. You know, if you're not somebody that, like, for me, it really just is that I just want to feel like I'm moving. I'm not really trying to accomplish too many things. I'm really just trying to feel my body and be present in it. And I think that's one great way to do it.
Yeah, muévete. Okay. Delcy, thank you so much for joining Tamarindo as guest co-host. What would you like to leave our listeners with?
Oh, I would just like to say that, you know, support your local artists. If you have an opportunity, if you pass down the street and you see that people are selling items on the street, or there's a new taco stand in the corner, or your friend opened up an Etsy store, or whatever you see online, like, please keep that at the top of your mind, especially as we start to enter the holiday season. Artwork is a really great gift. You know, the best way to keep the world filled with creativity and art is to allow those folks to make a living from what they're doing. So the more that you can support, you know, I will advocate for that.
My favorite part about what you just said is that you grouped taqueros as artists, as the true artists that they are.
Culinary artist, yes.
Yes. Well, with that, y'all, you can, again, go to tamarindopodcast.com/encuentro to join us. Remember to apply by October 31st to get in for that amazing rate of $1,600. And of course, there's I should tell you that there's a payment plan. So it's not, you don't have to give that all to us right away. It's a $300 deposit and then a couple other installments up until January. So y'all, thank you so much. Please rate and review this podcast. Please listen to Ocupación. Thank you so much, Delcy. Everybody, pon tu suéter. Tamarindo Podcast is Brenda Gonzalez and Ana Sheila Victorino, with production support from Josie Melendez and Augusto Martinez Delgado of Sonoro Media. Our theme song is by Jeff Ricards. If you like our show, please rate and review Tamarindo Podcast or share an episode with a friend.